let me now tell you that the next topic we are going to discuss is ethical leadership, conflict prevention, and peace building. Within the 45 minutes we have now, hoping that Mr. Peter B will not come in within that time, I want to invite a very radio broadcaster, a fine speaker, and also an authoritative anchor on Radio Nigeria. I want to invite Mr. Von Mwadukwe to come as a moderator. Give him the round of applause he deserves. He will take care of the rest and introduce his persons he's going to work with. Thank you, Mr. Von Mwadukwe. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Some of you may not know that Mr. Aka happens to be my boss at the office. But today we are friends. Good afternoon, everyone, again. So it feels different sitting down here right now. I'm walking up and down, and it feels a lot different sitting down here. But I'm glad to be here this afternoon. I'm sure that in the next 45 minutes, it's going to be as interesting as the previous panels had been. Now, many opinions have it that the heart of the problem bedeviling Nigeria and other developing nations like ours is leadership. And when they say leadership, it's at all levels of it. And, leadership goes beyond just being number one on the list. Most times when you have a group of persons gathered together and they say, who's your leader? It's the person's name that's usually written at the top of that list. But you go beyond that. Leadership is directed by respect for ethical beliefs and values and for the dignity and rights of others. It is thus related to concepts such as trust, honesty, consideration, charisma, and fairness. And without these elements, it is believed that all facets of development cannot be actualized, and development, also thrives in an environment devoid of conflicts where peace thrives. Are these elements present in the leadership patterns we have experienced in Nigeria? How can we, through this pattern of leadership, avoid all manner of conflicts that have affected us and help to develop our communities? I'm not going to be alone. As usual, there'll be panelists who will be joining me, on the stage right now. I guess I'm intimidated by the charisma and capabilities of those who will be joining me on this platform. Please make welcome retired General Chris Eze to please join me on stage. Put your hands together for him. The MC had tried to, do a bit of introduction for him earlier on, but when he sits down, we'll pass the mic to him to do another, introduction for himself, this time from his own point of view. You're welcome. You're welcome, sir. Please, a round of applause for him again, retired General Eze. Usually I don't like adding retired to military men, because once a general, always a general. You're welcome. Also joining me on stage this afternoon is Basi Ephraim. Put your hands together for Basi Ephraim. Basi is a young person like me, and Basi will also be introducing himself when he sits down. That applause was not interesting enough. Please make him welcome, encourage him. Thank you very much. Okay, the last but not the least is a man who sat here all morning. He came here before most of us, and he's been very patient since he was here in the morning. He's Cardinal John Onaikon. He will be joining us in just a jiffy. So I would like the gentlemen who are here already to just tell the people who you are, and in the same breath also what your concept of leadership is. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Major General Chris Eze, retired. I'm the immediate past High Commissioner of Nigeria to India. To be given that appointment, I was a member of APC. But when I came back and saw what APC is doing, I resigned from APC and joined Labour Party. And when I resigned, I sent my letter of resignation a copy to Mr. Peter B, His Excellency, And I was amazed. Within 20 minutes, he responded and acknowledged and thanked me for joining him. So I am amongst the millions of Nigerians that are hoping and praying that he will become the president. Because when I speak on the subject, I will hold that the presidency has a very, very big job to do in bringing ethical leadership and making it spread to other factors of our national life. I was trained at the Nigerian Defense Academy and the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, and I retired as the Chief of Policy and Plans at Army Headquarters. That was in 2006, 16 years ago that I retired. But as the Bishop said, Bishop Honor, who incidentally is from the next village to mine, I've tried to keep my body functional and also to keep my brain alive by reading as much as I can. This is the former chairman of my local government. I was his camp commandant in 1987. See how time flies. So thank you very much, gentlemen.
Okay, so Mr. Bassi.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ephraim Bassi Emma, and I work for an organization called the United States Institute of Peace, USIP, and I co-lead one of our peace-building programs in Northeast Nigeria. I am also a peace-building scholar practitioner, so I write pieces, literature on peace-building. I also publish on the topic, but I do so from a lens that I call a combination of theory and practice. So I am a development worker, I'm a humanitarian, also one who considers himself to be a systems thinker. And yes, I'm a Kroc scholar with the University of Notre Dame in the US when I first met Noel. And so I'm happy to be here. So just to delve into the question.
Okay, just hold on a bit. His Eminence has just got back. So let's reintroduce and welcome on stage His Eminence John Cardinal on Icon. Put your hands together. Put your hands together for him. Thank you for coming, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so I don't think His Eminence needs any introduction, does he? Does he need a form of introduction? You want him to tell you a bit about himself? Okay, so I'll let His Eminence do that right away.
Thank you very much, Von. I thought Von means voice of Nigeria. I'm on Ayekon. Thank you. I'm an Ayekon John. I'm the Cardinal. I have been Archbishop of Abuja for about 30 years now. Now, no more in direct charge of the Archdiocese, but I'm still quite busy. Whatever energy I have, I continue to spend it for the same things until the end comes. I am a retired Archbishop of Abuja. Thank you
very much, sir. Okay, so our plenary session is on ethical leadership, conflict prevention, and peace building. We have 45 minutes to do that. I guess we've spent 5 minutes out of the 45. So let's look at the concept of leadership first and foremost. I would like to start with retired General Eze. You're a military man. You've been in charge at the military high command as well. You've also represented Nigeria internationally. That's massive leadership on your shoulder there. So what's your concept of leadership before we delve into ethical leadership?
Well, the concept of leadership as conventionally we understand it and also as defined in the dictionary is the responsibility, the position you find yourself in managing whatever you lead, and that involves getting the group to setting the goals for the organization, and then getting the group to work together to meet those goals. That is the way I would define leadership in a very short manner. Now, so that I don't have to go back to ethical leadership, other people can talk about it when they come. You defined the characteristics, the qualities that an ethical leader should have. Trust, both which will make him to work with those who are assigned to relate with those who are assigned to work with him based on their own competence rather than on other parameters like considerations like, for instance, the tribe they come from or the exclusive group that they come from, you know. And trust also means that the group that he's leading has to have trust in him. I think it has been variously said by many people, including Mr. Obi himself, that the trust deficit is at the root of the problem that we have in Nigeria. I think Mr. Frank Mweke also alluded to that, you know, and then you have to have honesty. Corruption is a very big problem in Nigeria. If you are not an honest person and you come and you say that you want to fight corruption, people, when you are pointing one finger, 4 fingers will be pointing back at you and nobody will believe you. Now, he also talked about fairness. Many of the problems that we have in Nigeria arise because some people feel that they are not included, that there is the feeling of inclusiveness is lacking in our place, whether it is tribal or whether it is ethnic or whether it's gender-based, you know. So if you are a fair-minded leader, you will give everybody what is due to him in that polity. Now, the other one is charisma. Or rather, before I talk about charisma, let me talk about consideration. You know, consideration and fairness are closely related, you know. So consideration will say that you value the interests of the collective more than your own personal interests. Many of the things that we are facing in Nigeria arise from selfishness at elite levels. You know, so if you value consideration, then you will know that what is good for the goose is good for the gander, like they say, and that everybody has an equal stake in the endowments of the country that you are managing. Then you have charisma. I don't know how many of you bother to read the history of the Second World War, but if you do, you will see that Neville Chamberlain, who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom at the start of the war, that when Germany overran France in 1940, the morale in the UK was very low. So it was when Churchill came in that, because of his charismatic leadership, the English now did what they thought was impossible. And then the rest is history. And so you need a charismatic leader. And charisma involves many things. It involves inspiring people. When the name of Peter Obi was mentioned, there was enthusiastic reception, right? Even those who have not seen him in the flesh, who have the opportunity to see him today, are inspired by him. Many from what they read about him in cyberspace or on social media, not to talk of when you now interact personally with him. It also means communication. You should be able to, no matter how good the the intentions that you have are, you must communicate them to people. And that is why those who do not have the power of, you don't have to be an orator to be a good communicator. What you have to do is that whatever you are saying, you must understand it first, so that you don't just come and be parroting maxims to people, or you are going to do this and you are going to do that. And if you are asked to define what you are to explain what you are to do, once you remove your eyes from the script that has been prepared for you, then you can no longer communicate. Okay. I think this young lady that made a presentation to us, I have not seen anybody that communicates as much as she did, and in the political sphere, you all heard Frank Wike. That is, and everybody sees Peter Obi. He doesn't speak with scripts, so, and he's going to speak to us today. Okay? Now, another thing is, in Nigeria, even outside of that charisma, you must have political will. Because to repair this country, you have to step on so many toes. If you do not have the political will, you are not going to succeed. If, as we pray, Peter Obi wins the election, we know what happens in Nigeria. A president takes his budget to the National Assembly, and then we are told that that the president's liaison to the National Assembly have to see the legislators in the night with packages and all that. That's what we have been told. So if he comes and he's somebody, he told us, when he was in Anambra State, how he fought against that. But if he goes in now with the Labour Party and rules Nigeria that has so many different tribes and so many different ways of looking at life, I hope and pray that when he begins to discipline them, that they are going to understand that it's for the good of Nigeria, rather than that the good of Nigeria is more important than that. So if he has political will, which he has displayed, it is going to help him.
Okay.
So
thank you very much. Okay, let me use this one. So, Mr. Bassi Ephraim, I wouldn't let you define leadership, because I think General Eze have done a deep justice to that as well. So, in Nigeria, what have we seen as regards to leadership and ethical leadership?
Okay, so I'm going to take this question from the perspective of being a young person.
Okay.
And trying to create much more context in terms of trying to look at what the future looks like. If we are talking about ethical leadership, you are asking, or you are saying it's important that we have leadership that's people-focused or people-centered. You are asking that, we are saying leadership should focus on solving real-life problems. You are saying leadership should be participatory. You're saying leadership should be inclusive. You are saying leadership should be systemic. Now, saying all of these things, it's important that as young people, and I like that the first panel really laid the foundation in terms of trying to help us understand how education shapes leadership and how it helps shape society. If we have to change the trajectory of the country, it's important that we all get engaged. Engagement in itself as young people is a form of leadership. You cannot change something that you don't understand how it works. You cannot change something that you do not even recognize exists. So if we are saying we want to focus on building a country that works for every one of us, then it's important that we recognize ourselves as agents of change and are part of that process of change. Saying that, I also want to highlight the importance of even recognizing the power in our agency. So the Colonel highlighted something on charisma, on having a persona that is very persuasive. If you're a leader and you do not even understand that you have the power and the will to transform society, then it is not easy for us to fall in line as followers. So, as young people, it's important that we change our mindsets. There is need for reorientation. Gone are the days when we say it's not our business. And one time I got engaged in a conversation with someone very recently, and he says, oh, you like talking about peace, 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 peace. And he says, it's not my business. I said, you think it's not your business because it's not in your doorstep yet. But do you realize now that the discussion around security has changed? What do we say now? Security is what? Everybody's what?
Business, yeah.
Is everybody's responsibility. In the past, I always ask, was it everybody's responsibility? No, it was because some people thought it was left for a particular set of people. Now, we need not to be in that category where we say it is not our concern. If we must change society, if leadership is ethical, it must recognize that it needs to carry everybody along. And that includes laying the platform that enables everybody to be part of influencing change. And I'm saying this not because only because we're getting into an election season. I'm saying this because when we talk about the future leaders of tomorrow, and they say the youth are, I mean, we are the leaders of today, and we are the leaders of tomorrow. The future is you, the future is me. I am the future, you are the future. So, it is important that we are not making the same mistakes, or we are not doing the same paths that has led us to where we are as a country now. It's important that as young people we are focusing, trying to be innovative. The world is getting dynamic, and part of the idea of being an ethical leader is your dynamism. How are you adapting to change? How are you ensuring that you are working as a leader of an organization, as a teacher, as a student? How are you trying to make sure that you are engaged in transforming and adjusting or adapting your institution or the organization that you manage to the current realities that shape the world? So that is where I would leave it at now. And when we get into, hopefully we'll get deeper into the conversation.
Okay, I think I took away something quite very important. For leadership to work, we all have to get involved in the process, because you cannot change what you do not understand. That's very lovely. Your Eminence, yes. Apparently we somehow theoretically know everything about leadership. We've seen people contest elections and they come up with beautiful policies and plans for the country that never gets translated into actions, that touch people's lives directly. And you see a lot of scholars expound a lot of knowledge on what we need to do to change our country. What seems to be the problem with leadership in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. First, let me congratulate the boys champions for being able to bring together this kind of occasion, bringing this kind of large number of young people together. It is important. And if this happens in many places, it will create a critical mass of young people who are really sincerely interested in not just letting things remain the way they are. So congratulations to you, Noel, and all your friends. One of the panelists helped me out of a problem I had from the world go when I got your letter. These boys champions. I was asking myself, where are the girls? But that we needed girls champions too. But he has explained to me that the focus is on get the men be real men. And a real man doesn't maltreat a woman. When a husband begins to beat his wife, what has he proved? That he's stronger. That's not the place to do that. If you want to prove how strong you are, then engage another man. Then we know you are strong. So if it is right, if you can get the boys well trained to respect themselves and respect their sisters, just like they, I hope, love and respect their mothers, a lot of these gender issues will take a different shape. Mr. Vaughan, I'm not sure whether I will eventually answer your question, but let us talk around the issue of leadership. There are all kinds of leadership, you know. Even among a gang of robbers, there is a leader, isn't there? And the bandits up in the northeast, they have their leaders, in fact, who are now even well known. So well known that even the government can't do anything to them, much to our embarrassment and surprise. So the question is not so much leadership, but leadership for what? And the direction of leadership will depend on the concept of leadership with which you operate. We have been having leaders in Nigeria now. They have been leading, but we now know they have not been leading us in the right direction. And so the question to be asked now, why is it that leadership has been emerging and somehow we are not been getting the right results? And here, before I even go to that, on the youth, Bishop Professor Ona said what actually made him suspend his pastoral visit to come here is because of the aspect of meeting the youth. It was the same reason which made me accept your friend's invitation, Father Emmanuel Ojefo, to come to this occasion because I'm going to meet young people. Again, the concept of youth, especially in terms of politics in Nigeria, it seems that we are not taking it, we are almost in many areas quite amnesty. We have an amnesia, forgetfulness. It is my feeling that the first major politicians we had in Nigeria, those people now whom we now look and think that they were ancestors, Azikiwe, Awolowo, Amadu Bello, from my own reading of the history, they were all young people. They were all young people, straight from university. They happened to have trained, most of them abroad. So they were young people. And if you fast forward, the events of 1966, which has made a major impact on the life of our country, for 30 full years of military rule. Who were those who led that whole movement? Ojukwu was in his early 30s. Gowon was not married. He was 31 years old. And the boys around them who did the thing, where many of them were in their late 20s. My governor in the then North Central State, it was called, Bamiboye, was only 28 years old. This was the young people who took action. Did they take the right action or the wrong action? I think we should be able to fall back now and read the history and at least learn how youth should not how youth action should not be. But it will at least tell us that the youth can move things. Don't wait till you are 50 or even till you are 40. It might be getting late. I was a bishop already at 38. And I didn't see myself as a small boy. One text of St. Paul that I always loved was, let nobody look down on you because you are young. Paul was telling Timothy, who was a young boy, well, I am now 78 and I am not foolish to think I'm still a small boy. I'm an old man now. But what it means with me is that when I see my young Reverend Father who is 25, 30, I don't look on him as a small boy anymore. I know when I was your age, this is where I was. I had a sense of dignity, leadership. People were calling me father. My own father was calling me father. Yes, and we took it seriously that people are calling me father. That means I'm expected to be their father, even though I have, in number of years, are not so much. So there is something there about leadership which comes with God's own. It's God who determines and gives it. We should not think that this whole thing works only in terms of religion. There's such a thing as leadership quality, gift of leadership. Students, God bless all of you. We all remember when we were in secondary school, our former minister, Nweke Jr., I'm still to meet Nweke Senior. But he told us he left school in 82. You left secondary school in 82 in Maduguri. I left St. Michael's Secondary School, Aliede, not too far from here, Benue State, in 1962.
Whoa.
In the school, we already had leadership. The Reverend Father, we were in a Catholic school. Holy Ghost fathers run the schools. Already from 1, you have a prefect in the class. And he was expected to lead. We learned how to lead our peers.
Okay.
We learned how to lead our peers. At the end year, in 1962, final year, we had the head boy who spoke and whom we respected, but who also took his responsibility seriously.
Okay, I'm sorry, Your Eminence. So probably you are alluding to the fact that maybe the problem with getting quality and effective leadership in Nigeria is the fact that all of us feel...
Let's summarize.
Okay.
Let me summarize, but I wanted us to broaden this question.
Yeah.
But if we are talking about political leadership of Nigeria, then let's know that we are talking of a specific level of leadership. And that specific level of leadership requires, they have mentioned already, it requires honesty, it requires focus. From a religious point of view, and I'm doing maybe the more religious among the three of us, yeah, it is clearly religiously based that a leader of human beings must know that he is leading for God, in God's name, because only God has a right to control and command human beings. No human being has a right to control other human beings, because each human being is made in the image and likeness of God and has God-given dignity, freedom. When we gather together for the purposes of getting things working, we do end up having somebody to lead us. But when we acknowledge somebody to lead us, we have not abdicated our dignity and our freedom to him to do whatever he likes with us. And one of the problems with leadership in Nigeria is the moment we vote them in, we relax and say, let them do whatever they like, as if we have already abdicated our dignity to them. So that is where the religious angle comes in. It was very clear in our traditional religion. And today, the lack of it and the fact that leaders are operating in a way that they claim immunity and they try and do whatever they like and they insist on revealing whether they are doing well or not is because we have not accepted the spiritual base of human leadership. Add on to that what Jesus himself added. Remember this story when Jesus was telling his apostles, among the pagans, their rulers lord it over them. Among you, it must not be so, because the leader among you must be the servant of all. How do you apply that to Nigeria? Are the rulers in Nigeria operating like those whom Jesus described as the pagans who lord it over their subjects?
Well, we don't have all Christian leaders in Nigeria, though.
And this is nothing about Christianity.
Okay.
It's about reality. And if you push forward, you'll find that if you meet a good Muslim, he will tell you the same thing. If you meet a good Muslim, he will tell you the same thing. That human leadership must come from God, and it must be in terms of service
Okay. Okay.
Those 2 points are what is, what I don't know whether we can say it is missing, but if we don't retrieve it and we enter politics so that we can win, so that we can be powerful, and with political power you can make money, you can do whatever you like, of course we'll continue to roll around where we are.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Eminence. Thank you. General Eze, I picked a lot of things from what he said, part of which is the fact that a leader cannot lead in isolation. There has to be followers. And if the followers are not following well, then that means the leader is not either leading well, or there's a problem somewhere. So where do we all, as citizens of Nigeria, come in the picture of getting right ethical leadership to avoid conflicts that will divide us like we're seeing today?
Well, I think that the people who designed the democracy, starting from Benjamin Franklin or going back, to the Magna Carta and all that, I think they took cognizance of the biblical saying that the heart of man is evil. And then because of that, they designed their checks and balances. Our problem, just like His Eminence says, is that we abdicate our responsibility in the public political space. And by the way, we're stressing leadership at the political level because we know the circumstances in which we find ourselves. Our institutions are weak, and anybody that you ask, including Frank Weke here, he says that our problem is leadership. And he was talking about our problem, and when he finishes talking about our problem is leadership, he says, when I become governor, this is what I'm going to do. Because a governor and a president have executive powers, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the Nigerian Constitution has given such powers to the president that even if you have ethical leadership in other fields of endeavor, there's virtually little that you can do except if you now have an ethical leader there, which I will argue we have not had since at least the death of Murtala. Let me put it that way. I think that when Yaradua came, we had some glimpse of it. So I will boldly say that we have had false dawns, promises of good leadership, and then I don't know whether they were overwhelmed by our institutions or whether they themselves deliberately sabotage the institutions where we are now. One can plausibly argue that we have very little ethical leadership. And that's why I started with, I mentioned Peter Obi, not because he is coming here, but because he has a past which everybody can scrutinize, and then we can extrapolate from that past to the future. Now, back to your question, what can we all contribute to changing the situation? That's your question.
Yes, yeah.
Well, the first one is what is already happening, potentially happening, which is to say that somebody has come on to unleash a dynamic where for the first time in Nigeria we are entertaining the possibility of a man winning the presidential election without giving shishi. Nobody, so then they talk him. Good. So the first thing that we need to do is to demonetize our politics. If we do not demonetize our politics, we are not going to get anywhere. And that demonetization of the politics is going to start with this experiment. Because if this experiment fails, God forbid, the lesson that everybody is going to learn from it is that is a quixotic approach to politics. I don't know how many of us have read Don Quixote by Cervantes here. But Quixote wrote the book of people charging at windmills. So this is actually an existential election for us. So, and the youth is here. It is the youth that is going to be at the vanguard of this endeavor by evangelizing others, by showing, by example, that they reject that monetization, they reject thuggery, they reject everything, and then bringing pressure to bear on the other institutions, which have complementary roles to play in the election, like the security services and the INEC. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. So one is encouraged. Look at the currency change, for instance. It is said that the currency change is aimed at reducing the probability of vote buying. I think that is what Mr. President himself said. Okay, and also look at the bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS. So all of us are here, and it is still the youth and all the people at all segments of society that are taken by bosses to certain campaign rallies because they are paid to go and give the appearance of legitimacy to people whom they know should not be there at all. You understand? So we start from this election. If we get this election right, we are going to set a precedent that if you do not do well in government, you will be voted out. So, and Mr. Nweke was a minister, and he was in government at Enugu State, and I'm sure that he knows that paradigm shift that I'm talking about now was not there. This is the time that we're about to start. Thank you. So the job is start with the youth. They did that in Zambia, they did that in Tanzania, they did that in Malawi, they did that in Lesotho. All right? So if the president comes, so what people can do. Okay. So let me start with the president. If he leads well, then he is going to be the role model, and other people down the line will copy him. Then, or will take a dressing from him, as we say in the army. Military, yeah. Then leaders in other aspects of our national life, be they public or private, religious, professional bodies, whatever, students, organizations, and all that, I think they will follow suit and then inculcate ethical leaderships at their own level. And then the result will be the rebuilding of the institutions which is the state personified. And then we'll have a better society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, please pass it to Mr. Bassi. So young persons are the forefront of the change that we seek. You are a young person. Do you think the young people of today are ready for that change? I would like you to answer that in just 60 seconds so we can get to the audience for a few questions and then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you so much. You asked me the question I'm going to ask the audience.
Okay.
Young people, do we think we are ready to take our society back? Yes. Please go out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So I don't know if there are people who have questions in the audience about taking our country back, having ethical leadership to prevent conflicts and build peace in our communities. I would really like if there are those in the gallery who have questions. Could you come down? The mic may not be able to get there very quickly. Just one or two persons. Very quickly, and then we'll give them a sense of belonging because they've been part of this audience, but somehow they will not be able to participate directly. So someone is coming down. Yes.
While we stepped out to take a photograph at the Green Pub outside, the Shaping the Future conference banner that was put out was falling. And then I made a very simple joke. I said, the future we are trying to shape is already falling. Now, that implies that at this point, I do not think that those above the age of 56 do have, in quotes, the moral rectitude to advise the young generation when it connects politics at this point in time. The case is, they have failed us and woefully. They had all the opportunity to transform this country and they did not. I would be asking Frank specifically, and then direct the next question on leadership to His Eminence, His Excellency, please. Please, Frank, as a prospective governor of Enugu State, in your ideology, what do you think is the most basic issue concerning political structure in Nigeria? At every turn in time, when politicians make campaigns, they make these campaigns on ethical basis, on ethnic and tribalistic tensions that fires up the youths. We seem to like that. This person is from my side. What is the church doing? I know the church would say that they have put up a lot of written arguments, they have advised the people, they have released communiques, they have advised us to pray for peaceful, fair, transparent elections. This is not enough, in my opinion.
Okay,
The church transparently has the largest body of followers. The church can mandate. When I use the word mandate, I mean the church can say, this person is credible, vote for him. In Latvia, this experiment is practical. 76% of the people living in Latvia are Catholics, and they control the voting system. Not that the church imposes on them who to vote. So I'm asking His Eminence, here in Nigeria, is that practicable?
Why hasn't the church done
Is that practicable?
Okay. So Mr. Frank will answer your question very quickly, and then His Eminence will also respond. Okay, the second question, please give him.
Thank you very much. I would have loved to ask this if His Excellency Peter was here, but I can as well throw it open now, since I don't know if you have another opportunity for questions. So everyone has been talking about the need to participate in politics and then, try to elect good leaders. Leadership has been the song here since we came. So sometime last week, or last 2 weeks, His Excellency Peter was asked a question. He was asked, how do we deal with the issue of the commission that is responsible for helping us elect a leader? I mean INEC now. And he gave a response that he's a player in the field, that he doesn't like to talk about referees. So personally, that was the first time I disagreed with any P2B answer. So and I'm asking, if you're a player and you don't want to talk about the referees, have you forgotten that the referees have the final say? Because you can score a goal and the referee will decide and say it's not a goal. So if you transmit it to our elections here, what can we do practically? Because it's a challenge. For me, I think INEC is the greatest challenge we have in this election. What can we do practically to address this issue of our electoral system not interfering with the choice of the people? Thank you so much.
Good day, everyone.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I don't think we have time enough for a lot of questions.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. But you could continue to engage with us on socials. There are people who respond to you on our social media platforms.
That's the last, they said last one. Okay, my question goes like this. Like just somebody said something yesterday when I was in a vehicle. He said that the governor said Enugu State is in the hand of God, but now it's no longer true that Enugu State is in the hand of Fulanis. Why do I say such? Can we move forward in a society whereby there's no unity? For example, now we're talking about education as the lead to every society. Now, the people in head don't value education. Let me not mention anybody, but let me use it metaphorically. Like the leader of a country who doesn't value education, then how can people under have the access there? Is it not when there's a demarcation? Like some are against education, while some value it. But reverse was the case, that those that don't value it is now on top. Now, not giving us access for those that value to come on top, then how can that success be achieved?
Okay, thank you very much. That's the last question. Mr. Frank, you have the floor. Let's quickly pass the mic to him so that he can answer the question. Yes, briefly.
I just hope understood the question that the gentleman asked. Can you help me rephrase it? The biggest problem with politics in Nigeria, the way we practice politics. First of all, thank you so much to the panelists for the excellent insights that you have provided. if I may just preface my, my response, just a brief comment on the matter of leadership. And I want to say that leadership of any kind, at any level, whether it's in a family, any leadership, no matter the sector, no matter the industry, if that leadership does not in some way catalyze some form of improvement in the human condition, whether it's in a church, whether it's in a home, whether it's in the military, whether it's at the societal level at large, there is no basis whatsoever for such a position or such an individual to be called a leader. And I say this because there is always the problem of mistaking a position of authority as a position of leadership. The fact that you're in a position of authority does not make you a leader. What makes you a leader is what you do with that position. I just thought I might make that contribution. Now, I'm afraid I'm not going to sound very different from the very eminent panel that we have. The problem with Nigeria is simply and squarely the failure of political leadership. I reiterated earlier that it is the quality of your political leadership that determines the outcome in your private sector. It is the quality of your political leadership, the people that make the policies, that design the programs, they are the ones that determine the exchange rate of your naira. It is the quality of political leadership that determines the integrity of your electoral outcomes. Whether elections are free and fair, whether it is participatory, whether it is inclusive, whatever you want to call it, it depends on the quality of political leadership. I found it very interesting a few days ago, some reportage that was attributed to the national chairman of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, national chairman of the APC, Alhaji Adamu Abdullahi, where he was saying that, well, he's come from somewhere and that they know that there's no network service, and therefore that this BVAS thing, they don't want it, this electronic transmission thing, they don't want it, and stuff like that. You want to take us back to Egypt. We're not going anywhere. We're not going back to Egypt. And what is about to happen will be the first time in our electoral history where credible elections will take place. Okay. The outcome is in your hands. Okay. It's in the hands of the people here. Okay. And let me just say one last thing, please. And so the gentleman who said, oh, what is the church doing? What is the church doing? What is this person doing? What are you doing? If you decide to sell your votes, is the cardinal going to follow you into a boat? Is the bishop going to follow you into a boat? Will anybody follow you to where you're going to go and vote? When you go to market to go and sell something, you take a good or something that you want to sell, some merchandise you want to sell. When you take it to the market and you say you want to sell this and I come and buy it from you, when I have bought it from you, the thing I bought from you, won't I go home with it? When you sell your votes to the politician for one packet of Indomie or for 500 naira or for 1,000 naira, the man has carried the vote and he has taken off. Because you sold it. Asha and then Rashi. Once you've done that, that's the end of it. So you have yourself to blame. There's only so much the church can do. There's only so much I can do. I've done what I can do. I'm submitting myself to scrutiny. I'm submitting myself to vetting. I'm submitting myself to questioning. If you find me credible, vote for me.
Thank you,
if you don't find me credible, vote for someone else. That's what we can do. But you must do your part, which is to vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that very beautiful contribution. Your Eminence, can the church really influence, how people vote, the voting patterns of the public? Can the church influence that? Should the church influence that, actually?
Well, first you must define what do you mean by church under those circumstances. If by church you are talking about the Catholic Bishops' Conference, we have our specific role. But if you ask me what is the church, then the Catholic Bishops' Conference is not the church. The church and the church, we're talking of Catholic Church in Nigeria, are all the members of the church, including any of you here who are Catholics. You are the church. But when this church is so big with different membership, and we have a division of labor within that church, That is why in the area of giving directives, spiritual guidance, and prayer, the clergy takes responsibility to reach out to the people. But when it comes to going into the battle, political battle, we expect people like Eze and others like him, who are also, I don't know, I presume you are a Catholic, we expect them to be church there in those arenas. So don't ask, I'm glad the person who asked the question actually listed out what the church has done, that is, and what the church can do. And we are trying our best to do it. I think I'm in a position to say clearly that the bad government we have had in this country, we have consistently opposed them that they are doing the wrong thing. If they had listened to us, we will not be where we are today. Give me any communique we wrote that says the rubbish and the corruption that has been happening is the right thing to do. We have always pointed out where politicians, political leadership have got it wrong, and we have kept asking them to do the right thing. Okay. To the extent that the Catholic Bishops' Conference was seen by many regimes as always, we always consider as if we are the opposition. Of course, for as long as the thing is not doing well, we oppose it. The final question, I imagine that answered the question that the church should give mandate to somebody. I don't know what you have in mind. Maybe you think that the church should now say, since Obi is a good Catholic, we all should now tell every Catholic, go and vote Obi. I'm afraid you will not hear that from us. Not in Nigeria. And you cannot quote other countries in this regard. You can't quote Poland. In Poland was all Catholic. You can't quote Philippines. Philippines was all Catholic. Cardinal Sin in the Philippines was an institution. When it comes to when it comes to political strategy for the winning of power, the rules of politics must be allowed to go to have its play. Okay. In fact, it would be counterproductive if we were to come out publicly to endorse one particular candidate. Because even if all Catholics voted for that person, that doesn't give him the victory. Don't forget there are many Christians who are not Catholics.
Okay,
and,
thank you.
And the issue is, we should go back. Every politician should go onto the field. The important thing is insisting on, let there be a level playing field during the campaigns. Let the elections be done without violence and fully, and let the results be correctly announced.
Thank you very much.
Then we shall be happy.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for His Eminence, John Cardinal Onaikon. Thank you very much for being a part of this panel. Mr. Basi Ephraim, thank you very much for being part of this panel. And of course, retired General Chris Eze, thank you very much for being part of this panel. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you very much. You guys were amazing. Thank you.
They will take a picture, but they sure deserve a round of applause from the young people who are here, especially. Please take a picture. Somebody is coming to do that. The general should smile. Soldiers don't smile, but I permit you to do so now. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Von Waduko, for an excellent job. Thank you so much indeed for moderating. Basi Ephraim, we're grateful to you. The retired general, I salute you. Cardinal, God bless you.